Dear friends, I'm Abdul Basit and you're watching Kaleidoscope. Last week, a summit meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization (SCO) was held in Dushanbe, the capital of Tajikistan. Whereas some leaders like Prime Minister Imran Khan were physically present at Dushanbe, others including President Xi Jinping of China, President Vladimir Putin of Russia, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India. They addressed the summit meeting virtually. I found Prime Minister Modi's speech, especially one formulation, very, very interesting. And if my memory serves me well, this was the first time that any Indian leader admitted that Pakistan too was a victim of terrorism. In his address, he said that all SCO members were victims of terrorism. So when he said all SCO members, that obviously included Pakistan, because Pakistan is one of the 8 SCO members. Now, some analysts in Pakistan interpreted this formulation as very positive. They were upbeat that perhaps this points to a change of heart in New Delhi, and now that India, even though indirectly, has acknowledged that Pakistan too was suffering at the hands of terrorism, so one could possibly expect some movement forward in terms of bilateral engagement. I do not subscribe to this viewpoint, unfortunately. My own assessment tells me that this was a tactical thing and did not or does not suggest anything different or positive for that matter. First of all, I believe that it would have been, or it looked bizarre, very odd from even India's perspective, to have singled out Pakistan in Prime Minister Modi's statement. That was simply not possible. And then he had to say that all members of SCO are victims of terrorism. Secondly, I think it was tactical in the sense that India wanted to convey to the world at large, and in particular to the SCO members, and that India does not have any nexus with terrorist organizations which are active in Pakistan. For example, the TTP or BLA or BRA for that matter. And India does not have any problem in condemning or admitting finally that Pakistan is also a victim of terrorism. So it wanted to convey to the world that we are concerned, we do sympathize with Pakistan, that it is also suffering from terrorism. But the question, and then the other question was that, in my view, that India does want to return to kind of Afghanistan, because even if it is under the Taliban. And since Pakistan and Russia are two countries which are very vocal about suggesting to the world that the international community should engage with the Taliban and in order to prevent Afghanistan from anarchy, from chaos. And India must have realized that instead of targeting Pakistan, it would be better if there is some consensus on the issue of inclusive government, because if Taliban finally come under pressure and do form an inclusive government where all ethnic groups in Afghanistan are represented, then that would pave the way for India to return to the Taliban, reopen their embassy in Kabul, and then their 4 consulates in Mazar-e-Sharif, Herat, Kandahar and Jalalabad. So that I think also was in view or in the minds of Indian leadership, or that why not to build consensus around the inclusive government rather than targeting Pakistan at the SCO. It would be more useful from their perspective to also this time round for a change sympathize with Pakistan, and that would go down well with Islamabad as well, and it would also in a way be good for India's image abroad, and may also help to convince the world that India was not involved in carrying terrorism in Pakistan, and that would also kind of counter Pakistani narrative, because you know that we all have evidence, and Pakistan in the past has prepared a few dossiers as well, proving beyond doubt that India has been involved in terror activities, funding and carrying out those activities through different organizations. So this was a good move from the Indian point of view, but to say that there is a change of heart in New Delhi vis-a-vis Pakistan, I have my strong doubts. I don't think so, that India is that there is any change in India's policy vis-a-vis Pakistan or vis-a-vis Kashmir. There is, in my view, no reconsideration. India is very confidently moving ahead when it comes to Kashmir, but they do have problems in Afghanistan, in the sense that they are worried about the loss of the space which they had before the Taliban took over. So they would like to return to Afghanistan, and one doesn't know how will that happen and when will that happen, whether they can do it along with other SCO countries, or would they wait for the US, because US is their strategic partner and then the Quad meeting is now coming on the 24th of September in Washington DC. So we will see where does India stand, whether it stands with the SCO countries, countries like China, Russia and Pakistan when it comes to Afghanistan, or it dovetails its policy with the US and moves in tandem with the US rather than goes along with the SCO or some countries of the SCO like Russia, China and Pakistan. We will see. But people in Pakistan who are suggesting that this is a positive development, I unfortunately do not subscribe to this viewpoint. Thank you very much.